also awesome that you've had Hilltop, but hey, Hilltop, you better be hearing that, man. And plus, you don't have to pay that $50. Just go, we'll waive that. Mic check. Yeah, that's way too loud. Sweet. Well, I believe we have a group of school kids coming in, seventh, eighth, and sixth, seventh, and eighth graders coming in today. Should be definitely exciting for today, if I remember that correctly. I believe it was eighth graders though. It's going to be a fun day, and this is a great level we have here now. Sweet. Color bar. Okay, good. And he's got cherry red, right? Lipstick red? Cherry red. The lipstick. Okay, well, at 10 o'clock, so anytime now, we're going to have the Lighthouse Christian School at 36 of them. Oh, man. And then 7th and 8th graders after that. So, around lunch. I'm letting you know, Gabe, right now. What's up, man? Have a bunch of middle schoolers. They'll be hype. Now, if you're joining us, welcome to the Museum of Glass. We have a professional crew down here making these bowls. Now, they're solid bowls. Now, this is a different type. Again, that term glass blowing can be very misleading because this time around we're not blowing any air. If you're wondering how this piece is started, well, down here, Sarah has a core of glass that she is turning back and forth. Now, this is how we're going to begin the piece here very shortly. If you're wondering where all the glass is being pulled out of, well, down here on your left-hand side, we have a glass furnace, which is approximately 2,100 degrees. And this is essentially a hot bowl of soup. It's about the same temperature as molten lava. Now, when you open it, it just looks red and orange, but there's so much more going on. Essentially, there is a pot of glass inside. We see Sarah stepping back in front of the furnace. She's dipping that core inside of that hot pot of molten glass. One of the shaping tools we're using down here in the center, but also down in that left-hand side, as we see Sarah just rolling back and forth on that wet pad, well, that's actually a newspaper pad that we use here at the museum. When we're burning newspaper, we prefer to burn the Wall Street Journal here at this museum, but any old newspaper will do. We fold it, drench it in water, and we burn right through this material. This bowl down here, if we leave it out here, it's going to get too cold too fast. If we want to keep it and stop it from breaking, it will slowly have to be brought back down to room temperature. So with the little tap, it will go off to the annealer. The annealer is a cool down oven, so for the next 24 hours, it will slowly cool down. To go back to the action down here, if we're going to be creating a polka dotted effect, and to do so, we've entered what we call a pineapple mold. This mold has a bunch of small little ridges to create a bunch of dots inside the glass. We are then rolling into crushed up glass, and then using a rag, we are wiping the glass on that surface. Of course, that rag can't get out all the color that's inside every single hole, and that is how we create that polka dotted effect. On to make something big, we will always take multiple dips in the furnace. We see that down here. Ben has entered the furnace for another layer. And look at that. We got rid of some excess glass down here. So when a glass maker is down here, we're getting rid of excess glass. Typically, right after the gather, we use a wooden block. And this wooden block is there to ensure that we have a nice symmetrical shape. And it also spreads around the glass nice and evenly around the core of glass. Typically, the woods that we use here in the hot shop, we like to use fruit wood, specifically cherry wood. And that's so because when we burn it, it smells like a barbecue in here. Now, in reality, we're using this fruit wood because it just lasts longer than any other typical wood. The wood is typically drenched in water, and it lives in water its whole life, only ever pulled out to be either used or cleaned. Well, this is how we're warming up for the day, but we are going to be switching gears in about 6 minutes or so. We are going to move on to a little bit more glass blowing this time. We are going to be making a vessel here very shortly. You have a question? How? So the color's coming to us in this little kind of broken up form. Now, this is called frit. Before that's made, the color starts off as a bar. The way we're creating color in glass is by adding different metals from the periodic table. Now, this is done in a different location, but essentially, different metals will give us different colors. So by adding cobalt, we can create blue glass. Manganese can give us purple, black glass. Chromium, green glass. If you like red and pink, that just means you have expensive taste because that color is made from gold. Now that we have our bar, it's then broken up to smaller fragments, how we have here, frit, and we can get even finer, and that's what Sarah's rolling into. She's rolling into some crushed up powder. It's the same thing as a frit, just a finer dust particle. Yeah, no problem. One thing we always get asked is about these rods that we use here. They're made out of stainless steel, which is a very poor conductor of heat, which is the reason why our hands are not getting burnt. However, if you take a close inspection of each rod, you can see where the rod takes its damage, where it takes a toll. That shiny stainless steel becomes to dull out towards the tip of the rod. So where the glass meets the rod, notice in that area that rod is completely black, and that is that heat taking a toll. We're typically not placing our hand in that darkened area, rather the shiny stainless steel part. Thank you so much for coming in. So again, I always recommend everyone to check out the glass making from the top balcony. We have some art all made here at the Museum of Glass. And then again, this is the last piece, so here very shortly, we're going to switch over to another process. The reason why there's holes being trapped in every individual little dot is because the glass is not fluid enough for the glass to be flowing into each individual crevice. So if you have something that's bumpy, if there's a hole in the glass, an air pocket will be trapped in. In this case, it's what we're going after, but typically when you're gathering, you want to make sure you have a smooth surface so no air bubble can be created. If you're joining us now, welcome to the museum. Real quickly, if you're wondering what we are up to, well, we just finished applying the color application. We start off with the long bar form. This is called the color bar. We placed a layer of color bar right on top of the bubble. We spread that thin layer nice and evenly around the whole bubble to create a layer. And this is how we color the glass. We've also sprinkled out some frit. Now, frit is just broken up bar. We'll grab a hammer, we break that up, we eventually get this. And by rolling on the surface, we can add an additional color or even pattern. Now, once again, if you have any questions about what you are seeing, you can always shout my name or raise your hand. My name is David. I am more than happy to answer any questions. The action will begin down on this left-hand side, but eventually it will be moving down to the center of the hot shop. I always recommend the first couple rows because those are always the best seats of the action going on. Sarah let that core cool down. Now Sarah's down on that left-hand side. She applied that color application on that very top layer. And all she's doing now is waiting. She's waiting for the color and the glass to cool down. By waiting and letting it cool down, we can A, gather more glass, and B, have more control over the molten mass that's on the surface. That cold core is going to keep everything together. And here we go. That's the first layer of molten glass on that surface. Remember that we only have a thin layer of color, but the molten glass on the surface has the property of magnification and will make the whole piece look like it's a solid color. When we're making something here in the hot shop, we always layer the glass, which means if we're gonna make something large or big, we will just be taking multiple dips in our furnace. Now, we already have a bubble inside, but Sarah's going to reinforce that bubble by blowing some more air through that blowpipe. Again, that blowpipe is specifically made for offhand glass making, made out of stainless steel. Now, you can notice that down here, it's nice and shiny. This is where we're typically turning the rod from, but towards the tip, the glass or the rod eventually takes a toll. That shiny stainless steel is no more, it's a dull gray and eventually black towards that tip. We're typically not placing our hand in that darkened area, rather that more shiny part. Just like last time, if we're gonna make something large, we are going to layer it. Sarah's letting that core cool down once again so she can get ready to go back into the furnace for yet another layer. Now, as Sarah steps in front of the furnace, what's going on behind this door is that there is a ceramic pot of glass. You can think of it as a hot bowl of soup that Sarah dips into, and then by turning, she can begin to gather all the molten glass she needs. And we see Gabe here doing the same thing, going back into the furnace. Now, it's due to the consistency of the glass that allows it to stick. We're not doing anything special to that top, to that surface. It's the consistency of the glass, which is sort of like warm honey, and that allows it to stick to the rod. Typically, after a gather, we use a wooden block, how we see down here. That wooden block ensures that when we're blowing air, it's it's going to blow out nice and evenly, nice and symmetrical. That block will spread around the glass on the very outside, nice and evenly, to ensure that when we're blowing air, that bubble will blow out symmetrical. To color the glass, we used a color overlay or solid color. Now, another way we can color glass is by rolling into crushed up glass, how we have on this little jar. Now, that is what Gabe is walking around with. He's rolling into crushed up glass to give the color that we need. Again, color is made by adding different metals from the periodic table to clear glass. Manganese can create purple and black glass. Chromium can create a green glass. Cobalt can create a blue glass. And red and pink glass is created by adding gold to clear, which makes it some of the more expensive color in the glass making industry. As we continue to work, one last thing I do want to say is that these chambers that we are entering, they're all powered by natural gas. The glory hole is a hot chamber where we can enter to re-soften the glass. And again, the furnace is where the hot molten glass is actually being pulled out of. So there is no glass inside of the glory hole. It is just the fire we enter. We're going to add a decorative design. Now, what Gabe has made down here is we call a wrap, a body wrap. This will be a line that we go or place on the surface of the glass. And now this action is going to be happening down here on this left-hand side. But of course, we're going to get that image on the top screen. And we can see this actioning coming together. Now, hot glass likes to stick to hot glass. So when we place it and on contact, they will stick together. Previously, if we want to make our piece larger, we will let that core cool down and re-enter our furnace for yet another layer. If you're just joining us now, welcome to the Museum of Glass. We're going to continue with the glass making fun we have here now. I had mentioned that one of the shaping tools we use is a folded padded newspaper. Again, here at the museum, we burn the Wall Street Journal, the only newspaper we burn here. This time around, we're actually using one of the newer technologies of glass making, and it's a graphite pad, but there is still newspapers on the inside of that pad also. Do we have any questions from the audience? Any questions that you might have about what you're seeing here today? Just to get a recap, we are making a vessel here today. We are entering a glory hole, which is the reheating chamber. It is just the fire we enter to soften the molten glass. Down here, this move and this step is creating the constriction, which will be the break-off zone. If you're wondering, well, how will this piece be broken free from the rod? Well, we have already taken care of that by creating a small little waist. At that same time, down in this opposite end, Gabe is standing by to blow air through that blowpipe, and this is the actual glass blowing part of glass making. When someone is down here with a wooden paddle, that typically means that they're going to be shielded. Remember that the glass is extremely hot and it radiates a lot of heat. So by having a wooden paddle in front of your arm, it can protect you from the heat. At this case, Ben has asked Gabe to blow. When you're blowing air through the blowpipe, you're blowing about the same air pressure you use to blow out a candle, but it does vary. Sometimes you are asked to blow soft and gentle, and on the other hand, you are also asked to blow hard. It all depends on how much we are trying to expand the bubble. Now, this little torch packs a punch. It is the hottest piece of equipment on this hot shop floor. That torch is so hot, it can boil the glass. Now, it's about 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit, so we are careful not to overexpose that surface. We typically use that torch to heat up one specific area that we wish to manipulate next. This time around, it is time to transfer our piece onto a different rod. By doing this, we can begin to work on the opposite end. Now remember, we have already created a break-off zone, the place where this piece will be broken free from that end. On this opposite end, Gabe is now making the punty. The punty is the transfer rod. When we're bringing over this transfer rod, it's very important that it goes on at the proper temperature. Not too hot, not too cold. Too cold and it won't fuse properly and the piece can break. Too hot, it fuses together and it becomes quite difficult for it to break off. So there is a small window to work from. Again, we have a professional crew down here. To break this piece free from that rod we have now, all we will use is a couple drops of water. Now, water is extremely bad to hot glass because it causes it to break. We'll use that water to our advantage to break it free for this transfer. Another thing we need to worry is when we're adding the transfer rod that it goes on center. So when it's turning, it's moving symmetrically. Everyone, real quickly, let's make sure we fill up the first couple rows because those are always the best seats inside the house, inside the cone, so we can get the best view of all the action going on. So it looks like we have some more space down in the second row if you want to fill the second row up. Again, these are some of the best seats in the house. And then we can begin to learn a little bit about the action you're seeing here today and the glass going on. All right, well, good morning, everyone. Should we try that again? Good morning, everyone. All right, I guess I'm just going to have to take that one. It is early in the morning, I guess. That's totally fine. Well, I hope everyone's having a wonderful day here today. And welcome to the Museum of Glass and our world-famous hot shop that we have down here. Real quickly, we do have a professional crew down here designing and making a piece that I believe will be going back to your school later on. Now, I will introduce the crew that we have here very shortly, but I do want to start off by introducing myself. My name is David. Now, if you have any questions about what you're seeing here today, you could always raise your hand or shout my name because I love questions. So I can talk about glass all day. So if you have a question, just raise your hand or shout my name, and I am more than happy to come over and answer any question that you might have. Now, to jump in right into the action, because you're coming in kind of midway, almost towards the end of us finishing up this vessel. Right as you walked in, we actually transferred it onto a different rod. So this piece started on a different rod, but we have now transferred it and begun to work on the opposite end. The crew that we have helping here consists of Gabe with the black hat, Sarah on the left-hand side, and down in the center here we have Ben. To start off, the whole process began and look sort of what Sarah has down here, a blob of glass. Now, it's hard to believe, but the vessel we have here started off with that little bit of glass we have here. And the glass is being pulled out of our furnace down here, which is about the same temperature as molten lava. Oh yeah, it gets extremely hot in here. This is one of the reasons why we call this place the hot shop. When the glass exits this furnace, it starts to cool down. So then we enter the fire to soften it up and continue to work. And that is called the glory hole here. Again, there is no glass inside of this chamber, but it's just the fire we use. It looks like we're going to be adding a decorative wrap on the very outside on the lip. So Sarah or in this case, is coming right over with that small little bit of glass that will be trailed on the very outside. And look at that, just like the consistency of taffy we can work. Now this crew makes it look very easy, but again, they are trained professionals. So don't try this at home, by the way. It's very dangerous. That's a good analogy. When we're sticking it on, it's sort of like that hot glue gun where it wants to trail off. So one of the shaping tools we're using here is a wet pad of newspaper. And there's nothing special about the newspaper we burn here at the museum. We're burning the Wall Street Journal. That's our preferred newspaper for a couple different reasons. But we fold it up, drench it in water, and we burn right through this material. But in this case today, we're using one of the newer technologies, which is a graphite pad, but there is still newspapers even on the inside of that. You have a question down here? What are we making? We're making a vessel here today. So this cone-shaped design that we have here is very infamous and is very iconic to Tacoma. The reason why we have this because it's a leftover rocket thruster for NASA. But in reality, it was built this cone-shaped design because it is a functional hot shop. We've created a natural chimney where hot air can just escape. And we have a giant fan on that very top that just sucks it all away. They built it custom for this. Fantastic question. How hot are the ovens that we have down here? So the furnace where the glass is being pulled out of is about 2,100 degrees, which is about the same temperature as molten lava. So that's what we're playing with here. And then the glory hole down here is about 2,300 degrees. If you have a rock and we throw it in there, it's going to become magma. It's really, really hot in there. Anything we throw in there just burns right away. It's a great place to be cooking some food also. I guess we have 2 questions, so we'll start down here and we'll come back. That is a fantastic question. How does our equipment tolerate the heat that we're exposed to? We use very porous rocks inside of this oven, which allow it not to get burnt. And then the rods that we use here are specifically made for this purpose. Does anybody know what happens if the glass is left out here? Any answers? Does anyone know what happens? It melts. We got the opposite of that. Does anybody know what happens if we leave the glass out here? It cools down where something bad happens. Do you have an answer? It gets harder. Sort of similar. Another try. Does anybody want to guess what happens if we don't place it into a annealer that's sitting at 920 degrees? You want to guess? It will harden, but something else will happen. Do you have a question or you have an answer? What will happen? It won't form in a shape? Well, the real reason why we're playing... Oh, you have one? You want to give it a try? It will start to what? High five. Can we give your partner a round of applause? That is a fantastic answer. It starts to crack. So if the glass is left out here, it actually gets too cold too fast. It can break, crack, and even explode. If we want to prevent a piece from breaking, it slowly has to be brought back to room temperature. And so that oven is sitting at 920 degrees, and over the period of the next 24 hours, it will slowly cool back to room temperature. Now, we saw the finished vessel. Did everyone take a look at it, right? So we're going to make another one because you guys only saw the very end. So we're going to go ahead and start off from the very beginning. And we're going to start off by heating up our color. So our color comes to us in this bar form. And the way we make this bar is by adding different metals. So different metals will give us different colors. And that's how we create this. Who likes pink glass in here? Who likes pinks and red glass? You can raise your hand real quickly. So some of you. So if you like that red and pink glass and you had your hand raised, that just means you have expensive taste, because red and pink glass is the most or some of the most expensive color in the glass industry because it's made from gold. Other colors like blue are made from cobalt, green is made from chromium, which is a little less expensive than the gold color or than the red and pink glass. Now, if you're wondering how this piece began, well, Sarah has the very start of it now. Can you guys believe that this little blob of glass that Sarah has will be transformed into a bowl? Right? Isn't that amazing? Isn't that incredible? We will be shaping this here very shortly. Now, Sarah has shaped the core, and look at this. She's going to blow some air through that blowpipe. She's going to keep her hand on that finger. Now, the air is pushing forward. It meets the hot glass, and it pierces a small little air bubble. You can pretty much say that glass blowers are professional bubble blowers, because that's what we're doing here. We're controlling a bubble on how it blows out, and we're controlling it to shape it. So down on this end, Gabe has that solid color again that we picked up. We will drop that solid color right on top of the bubble, and that will be the next step that we take, and this is how we apply the color to the bubble, by creating a thin layer. You have a question? Now look at that, we added a little bit of color right on the very end. Sarah's job is to push that color nice and evenly around the bubble to create a thin layer of glass. Now, does anybody here have colored glass in their home? You own some colored glass? So what's amazing is all that glass is a lie. It's not a solid color. It's always a thin layer of color sandwiched in between clear glass. And this is how we create something to make it look like it's solid. That clear glass has the property of magnification, which will make the piece look like it's a solid color. So the rods that we use here are made out of stainless steel, which is a very poor conductor of heat. If you take a close inspection of the rod, you can notice that Sarah's only handling that rod where it's shiny, where that stainless steel is still shiny. If she places her hand in that darkened area, chances are it is hot and she will burn herself. So she tends to keep her hands away from that darkened area. So do we ever sell some of the things we make? We typically have our visiting artist program, but if you see a Made at the Mog sticker or stamp on the very bottom, that means it was made here at the museum. So when you're looking through our store, if you notice there's a Made at Mog place, or made a little stamp on the piece, that means it was made in this hot shop. So on our top screen now, we're going to play a short little video on how to make a pony, just so we can understand how these ponies are made. And again, if you want one yourself, just get on the good side of a glass maker. So on our top screen now, our pony video. You have a question? All right, you guys see that? How we make these ponies down here in the hot shop floor? We're going to get ready to do another move here very shortly. Oh, yeah, if you're wondering about these cameras, we have them all around the hot shop. And, of course, we do live stream through YouTube and through our website. So you can always wave to our online viewers that we have. You can say, hi, Mom, you know. And, of course, we do... I'm fine. Thing we've made some pretty awesome and crazy stuff here, but we made some crazy stuff. A couple weeks ago, there was a glass guitar in the very back of the museum, which was pretty incredible. Yeah, you have a question up there? Can we heat up your sandwich? Man, I would love to, but this is not my hot shop. You gotta ask someone higher up on the chain, man. Am I a professional glassmaker? I sort of am. So I've been working with glass for a long time, about 9 years. But this team that we have out here, they're just so much better than me. Real quickly, I'm going to introduce them because they are extremely talented. Gabe Feenan down here has over 20 years of professional glassblowing. By the way, half the team has more glassblowing experience than I've been alive, which is pretty incredible. So we have Gabe Feenan down here. We can see some of his artwork on our top screen now. If you're wondering, well, what kind of artwork does Gabe make? We're seeing that right on the top screen. Now, I had said that Gabe has been working with glass for over 20 years. So real quickly, we also have more people that are part of this team. We will now introduce Sarah. Now, Sarah's down here. She's starting the core of glass that we have now. Now, remember, she applied that color that we had to the glass. And we can learn a little fun facts about Sarah and the MOG crew that we have here today. Wrap that we're going to be adding, Gabe has already made. We have these rollers down here. Are you guys ready to see something awesome right now? This is what makes glass so satisfying here, is one of these moves and one of these steps here shortly. Oh yeah, if you have a camera phone, it's going to get ready. You should get ready to hit record. We're going to place the glass on the very back. and we're going to add a decorative line going through the whole piece. Notice how that core is turning nice and symmetrically. That is what we're going for here now. I believe this will be the heat. And I'm going to say no more. Isn't that awesome? This is what makes glass blowing so satisfying, is moves like this. The next step we will take is to melt that down. So we're going to get that really, really hot, and that is how we're going to create the pattern that we see here today. Pretty much, yes. We also use color bar, which is how we started the bubble in the piece. But in our furnace, just so everybody knows, there is no color inside. It is just clear glass. I have a question up here. How much do our items sell for? Well, we have a pretty big price point. So just check out in our store and you can see some of the pieces that we have. You have a question over here? Okay, never mind. That's all good. Do you have any other questions? Yes. Yes, so by the way, I recommend everyone to check out the top balcony. All the glass that you see up there was made here at this museum, and also out in our gallery, the Albert Paley collection. That glass, I believe, was also made here. But of course, you can always check out the top balcony at any given time. Just ask your instructors that are around you if you can go to that top balcony. But I do recommend it. It's one of the best views of the live glass blowing. So we have a lot more members of our crew. Right now we're going to introduce Ben, who is our gaffer. The gaffer is the person in charge of making the piece. So Ben has over 20 years also of professional glass making. He's been blowing glass longer than I've been alive. So on our top screen, we're going to learn a little bit more about him and the artwork that he produces. Hard over here. I'm still searching for one, all right? Anyways, yes, we can make anything. Out in our store, we actually have some small little unicorns, too. Okay, so real quickly, I want everyone to raise their hand if they're 12 and under. If you're 12 and under, can you raise your hand? So if you're 12 and under, we just had a question of can you draw something and can we make it? Yes, we can. So we have a program here called Kids Design Glass. If you are 12 and under, you can submit a form and you can draw whatever you want. It's a contest that we hold here on a monthly basis, and if you win, we will make your drawing completely out of glass. And the best part, it's completely free. You don't pay anything. We give you the piece at the end of the day, or when the piece is properly cooled down. You get one, and we also make two. So we make one for you to take home, and then one for our private collection. And that's one of the best programs that we have here, our Kids Design Glass program. And my recommendation is just to think outside the box. You can draw whatever you want, as many applications as you want also. You have a question down here? So glass has no limits. So if you can draw it, we can make it. You have a question? Okay, so how do you get it back to us? So before you head out, we will make sure that your instructors leave with an official Museum of Glass entry. All you need to do is bring that entry, that official slip with your drawing, and you're guaranteed a chance to be to maybe win. So all you need to do is to have one of those forms. Again, we have some out in our education studio. You can print them on our website. You just need that official form, and we'll make sure your instructors leave at least with one of those forms. So I did find that form that we have. So if you need some, if you're one of the chaperones and instructors that need one, we can find some out in our education studio, but I do have a handful of them that I'm also willing to give out. Do we have a question down here? So the water that we have here, so we do use water for some of our tools, like the wooden blocks. They live in water their whole lives. They only ever come out to be used or to be cleaned, and they're waterlogged all the way down to the center. That's just so they don't burn away, because if we do burn them, it smells like a barbecue in here, because this is cherry wood. So we had a question about some of the tools that we use here, if we weld some of our stuff here. And we do. We have a technician down here, a hot shop tech named Nick Davis. So on our top screen, because we did have a question, so Nick is in charge of keeping this hot shop running throughout the week. Now we can learn a little bit about our top screen, but some of this equipment that you see here, he did create, he did make. If we need to reach into our garage that we have here, well, Nick made us some of these large tweezers that we could use to reach into hard-to-reach places here in the hot shop floor. And we will see Nick coming out here every now and then, too. So we have a couple questions now. We're going to start from the front, and then we'll work our way back. On average, that is such a hard question. I can say thousands. A day? I don't even know. Because some days we create a bunch of stuff, and then other days we spend a whole day making one piece. So it just really depends on who's here. Yes, you have a question? What's my favorite thing I've ever made? I always like the new things. Because every time you make glass, you always get better and better, and you learn after every single piece. So the next piece will be my favorite. And then when I blow glass again, the next piece will be. Do you have a question up there? You got to repeat that for me a little louder. Why do we keep the blowtorch on? So that is the pilot light, so we can use it whenever we want. If that's not on, then we would have to light it first and then use it. Now, those couple seconds that we could use just using it is very important for the glass making. The tools that we use here. The crew, okay. So this is our professional crew that we have here. When an artist comes to this museum, they get this crew that we have down here. This is a highly talented crew, considered to be one of the best hot shop crews in the whole wide world. They are incredibly talented. So, but usually, when an artist is here, they will get this crew that we have here. We do have some other people that join this crew, but this is our main team we have. You have a question? So down here we have Vivi, who's recording some of this. This is so she can get you the best view on our top screen. You have a question at the very top? What is the longest piece we've made? Well, we spent a couple hours, like over 8 hours creating one piece. So, you have a question over here? What are we making? Remember that vessel we made earlier, that bowl? We're going to start that again, and this is how the piece began before it was transferred. Do we have commissions? Yes, we do every now and then here at the museum, but the best way for your drawing to be made is through our Kids Design Glass program. I highly recommend it. You have a question? How come we have to spin it? If Ben stops turning this piece at any given time, it will just end up on the ground. It will just fall. So by turning the rod, we're keeping the glass on the rod. You have a question? So one last question, then I'm going to talk a little bit about the glass. Yes, it will look very similar to the last one. Now, of course, this is handmade, hand-blown, handcrafted, which means every single one will be unique in its own way. Down here, we had Gabe, who was standing by to blow air, to do the actual glass blowing part of glass making. If you're wondering how much air we blow, it's about the same air pressure you use to blow out a candle, but it does vary. Sometimes you're asked to blow gently and soft, and on the other hand, you are asked to blow hard. This little torch that we have here packs a punch. That is the hottest piece of equipment on this hot shop floor. It's hard to believe, but that little torch is about 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It is so hot, it can boil the glass. It can even boil away the color that we use, so we're very careful not to overexpose. I believe. So different textures in glass. If you can dream of a texture, we can make it. Glass has no limit. We have a couple questions up here. Yes, you can want to start. Why don't we wear gloves or anything? Well, first of all, we're pretty cool like this, but our body is actually acclimated to the heat, so our hands are not getting too hot, and we're just accustomed to working with this. Sometimes the gloves restrict our movement. We have a question over here. How does the blowtorch get so hot? Well, it is powered by propane going under the museum. So that torch is about 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. We have a question on top. Repeat that question for me. How old do you have to be to work down here? I don't know. I've never been asked that question. You can always intern here at the museum, but I recommend you be over 12 years old. But I'm sure at one point, if you're really good, and work something out. Yes. How do we choose the winner? Well, our team that we have out here chooses the winner, and they're looking for a variety of things. They're looking for originality, design, complexion, a lot of different things. So I just always recommend everyone to just think outside the box if you really want to win. And of course, you can submit as many drawings as you like. So these little ponies are not for sale. It's bad luck if a glass maker sells them. So we don't sell them. The best way for you to get your hands on one of them is to buy them some cookies or some drinks or something. It's my best recommendation. Focusing back on the action that we have down here, we are now getting ready to transfer the piece. So when you came in, we just have finished doing this. This is the process that we were on. We had a little bit of water and then a little bit of tap, and it breaks free. Now we can begin to work on the opposite end. So we had a couple questions about our Kids Design Glass program. So down here on the front of the hot shop, we have a little drawing. So this is our winner for last month, or for this month. So this is the drawing that we have. Again, if you want to apply for it, you can submit as many drawings as you like, but just think outside of the box. And that shark is actually sitting in the back of the museum, already finished. So we're seeing last month's winner, the drawing, out here on our front. And I'm actually going to grab this, and on our top screen, we're actually going to bring to you what the final finished piece looks like. So can you guys believe that? Look, this is the drawing we were given, and that is the final finished piece sitting in the very back of the museum. We also have an ice cream cone that we made here at the museum for another Kids Design Glass program. Again, if you want to have your own piece be made out of glass, think outside the box, think originally, and submit your drawings here to the museum. Every single month we will choose a different winner. If you don't win the first time, just make another drawing the next month. And again, there is no cap on how many drawings you can submit each time. By the way, your piece does not have to be colored. If you want it to be colored, you color it. If not, it is what it is. Again, there's no limit to that Kids Design Glass program. If you can draw it, design it, we will make it. Look at where we are now. We're back to adding the small little wrap that goes on the very outside of the piece. Now, Sarah has gathered glass down on this left-hand side, and we will be adding that stripe or that clear glass that goes on the very lip. So the shape that we bring over that piece, that wrap, is very important. That's the shape that we're wanting. Mass likes to hold heat, and that's how we can pull an even thickness all the way around. Even though it might not look like it's going to pull even, that's how we'll get an even thickness all around the piece. Where do we get our glass from? Ooh, fantastic question. So the glass that we melt here is just made north about 45 minutes from Seattle, and it looks like a little ice cube pellet looking form. This is called Spectrum Nugget, and this is what we're melting down here at the museum. So it looks like a little ice cube, right? Here, now I'm gonna bring it over so everyone can see the little ice cube. This is the glass that we melt here. It is soda lime glass. Chances are any glass in your home is made from the same glass, but ours is specially formulated for offhand glass making, which means ours is formulated to stay at a molten state for a longer period of time, which means we have a longer working time with it. We can continue to work with it. And again, this is made just north of Seattle. So the furnaces we have here have been running for about 7 years straight, non-stop. There's no holiday breaks in there. They are always turned on. So Nick down here is standing right in front of one of those furnaces. That will be on all the time. It's never going to get shut off ever. It's really bad news if it gets turned off. You have a question? Where do you get these official forms? So we'll make sure your instructors leave with some of these forms. We do have some of them out in our education studio, but you can go to our website. You can print these off also. What's her name? Oh, okay. I thought you said her name was Sheena. I was like, okay. What's your question? Why is there so many horses? That is our barnyard that we have here. We make a bunch of different animals. Oh yeah, we even have a turkey up there. We have an, I believe it was an elephant maybe up there too. You have a question? Okay. So this down here is called the garage. It's a place where we can temporarily store glass and keep it nice and warm. It's about 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. And this is where we set glass to keep it nice and warm. You have a question up there? How does it get so hot? It is powered by natural gas. The equipment that you see here is powered by natural gas. Now, real quickly, does everyone hear like a weird buzzing sound, like a whirling sound? Right? You guys hear that weird sound? So that is the blower we use to push in all the oxygen needed to really build up the temperature. Do you have a question down here? How did it get so round? That's how it was built. That's how it was made. If you're referring to the chamber. Something ever taken 2 days? Yes, it has. So we can actually make things in parts. We can make all the parts to, let's say, I don't know, a fish or a turtle. We will make all the parts, heat them back up, and then bring everything together the next day. So yes, it can take multiple days to create one piece. The color that you're seeing on this piece is kind of like a brown color, but notice when it's hot, it always looks red and orange. Oh yeah, great opportunities here working at this museum. So real quickly, oh yeah, you want to? No, so Dale doesn't really come in here. He was part of the founding board of the museum. Other than that, he doesn't really come here too often. So really quickly, this piece is going off into the annealer. Does anybody want to answer what happens if we leave the glass out here? You want to? It cracks. Fantastic answer. Can we give her a round of applause? Great job for listening. So the glass will break if we leave it out here. So we tap it off using a little bit of water, a little bit of torch on the very bottom, and on its way to the annealer for slow cooling. Can we give our hot shop crew a round of applause? Sweet. So again, those pieces that you see will be going off to your school, and they will be auctioned off for an upcoming event. Yeah, someone has already offered $100 billion, so I don't know if you can beat that price. So that's a great question. So the way that we typically work here is we're here to push the limits of glasses in art form. So artists are invited to come to this museum and then make whatever they want. And we have our crew to make that pieces. We're asking for the ideas from our artists. So some of the stuff that we create is quite crazy. So guys, if you're trying to offer something, someone has already offered $100 billion, so you can't beat that price. A question? So if the glass cracks, it cannot be reused, typically because it has color. No, so this clear glass that we have here on the floor can't be recycled because it does contaminate our clear furnace. So the cubes, so up on our top screen, actually not yet, we throw a handful of those small little cubes into our furnace and they melt down. So our furnace, oh yeah, so when we dip, it's already molten. All right, it looks like everyone has settled down. You have a question up there? Man, I'm not taking lifesavers, man. I'm already rich. I got the $100 million on the offer table. You have a question down here? A couple hundred. Man, that's not even, I don't even know if that's a number. All right, guys, if you guys have some questions, I can answer them, but don't be offering me any more money. Have we ever made a pineapple? Yeah, we can make anything. If you can design it, draw it, we can make it. You have a question? However, if you can draw it, we can make it. That's all I'm going to say. Yes, you have a question? Does Chihuly come down to this museum? Very rarely does he ever come here. Dale's studio is located just north of here in Seattle called the Boathouse. Thank you, guys. You guys have a wonderful day. So to answer a question down here, everything is at a different temperature. The glory hole is about 2,300 degrees, and the furnace is about 2,100. No, thank you guys for coming in. I hope you guys enjoy the museum, and I hope everyone will come back to the museum again. All right? I'm going to see you next time, right? You have my 100 billion next time you come through? All right. Is that trash? I can't take trash. These are sunglasses. All right, dude. Thank you so much. See you guys. Have a great day. No, man. Someone's coming back and paying me cash, apparently. Thank you, guys. I can't see that. I'm sorry. I hope you're having a really good day, though. How do the cameras move? Oh, man, that's magic right there. We have David Blaine controlling them. See you guys. I hope to everyone to see everyone again here, back with your parents, with your family. It's a great vacation spot. Remember, you can always join us online through YouTube and also our website. See everyone. No, thank you for coming in. I hope to see you again. Say, but what's your name? Yes, I live in Tacoma. I hope to see everyone again, all right? See ya. I work here Thursday and Friday, all right? So hit me up when you're in town here. Again, bring your family so we can come here and chill at the Museum of Glass. Yes. Yeah, that's fine. Depends your skill base. Some people are more confident in the smaller stuff. and there's some people who just are experts in that, but there's some people that can't work on a large scale. It depends on what you're trained on and what you're comfortable with doing. So everyone's different here. So we have a couple different ways you can become a glassmaker. Two of our hot shop crew actually went to college for glass blowing. That doesn't mean you're a professional, though. That just means you're trained. You can also work in a factory, how Gabe did down there with the black hat. He worked for factories for a long time to develop his skills he has now. If you want to become a professional, work in a factory. That's my recommendation. That's how you're going to get the hand skills. If you go to college, you're going to learn more of the behind the scenes of the glass, but you won't develop the skills as good. Yeah. No, sweet. Thank you. All right. It looks like we have a new school group coming in. I hope everyone. Oh, hi. 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 Hello. Welcome, everyone. All right. Now, real quickly, raise your hand if this is your first time coming to the Museum of Glass. First timers. All right. So that's a good majority of us. Well, first of all, I want to say welcome to Tacoma. I hope you had a good drive from Gig Harbor, right? I hope you guys are enjoying the local area and everything we have to offer down here at the museum. Now, how many of you have seen live glass blowing before? Oh, so some of you have already seen this before? All right, then. I guess I'm out of here for break. Anyways, focusing back on the action that we have down here, we have a professional crew. We started off by applying the solid color now. So everyone, raise your hand if your favorite color is green. All right, so if you have your hands raised, that means that color was made from chromium. That's the color we add to make green glass. Raise your hand if you like blue glass. So that means, if you have your hand raised, that means that glass that you like is made out of cobalt, which is another different metal. Now raise your hand if your favorite color is red and pink. Any takers? Oh man, so those people have your hand raised? You have expensive taste. That color is made from actual gold. We add gold to clear glass to give us red and pink glass. That just means you have expensive taste, because that color is way more expensive than any other typical color. Pretty much to make color, it's made by adding different metals for the periodic table. We've already applied that color application to our glass. We are now adding more clear glass to that surface. So you see Sarah there using a wooden block to shape the glass. We already have a bubble. We're pretty much glass blowers, you can say. We're pretty much professional bubble blowers. That's what we do down here. We're controlling the bubble on how it expands and how it's shaped. Now, real quickly, I do want to introduce myself. My name is David. If you have any questions about what you're seeing, I'm more than happy to answer any questions. And if you're sitting way in the back row, we have a full row down here in the front. You can always get up and chill in the front row. I always recommend it. Plus, you can hang out with me and talk to me more. But it's really up to you, but I do highly recommend the front row. All right, so I got my peeps coming down here. All right, guys. Now we can chill. Now the fun can get started down here at the Museum of Glass Hot Shop crew. So we have a professional crew that we have down here. They're considered to be the best hot shop crew in the world. And this team is incredibly talented. If you can dream of something to be made out of glass, this crew can make it. This crew is incredibly talented that we have down here. Look at that hot molten mass that Sarah's walking around with. That is hot glass that we see down there. I'm sure everyone drinks from glassware in their home, right? Some glass cups. We make those here at this hot shop floor, but ours is extremely nice. Now, the rods that we use here, they're made out of stainless steel, which allows us to handle that rod so our hands don't get too burnt. All right, so if I lose you at any time with our demonstration, remember to raise your hand or shout my name. Real quickly, I want to introduce the glass furnace, because this is where all the hot molten glass is being pulled out of. It's about 2,100 degrees. And real quickly, this is called the glory hole. It's about 2,300 degrees. Do you guys want to know why it's called the hot shop? because of that heat that we experience down here. Now, this is just one side of the doors being open. Now, imagine if I open the other end. Oh, yeah, it's incredibly hot. So this is just a reheating place. This is where the fire is, so we can continue to melt the glass and continue to work. By the way, right now is the best time to be a glass blower. Do you guys want to know why? Because it's super cold outside. It's all nasty and rainy. We're in here staying nice and warm. So during the winter time, it's always a good time to come to your local hot shop like the museum to get nice and warm. So another way we can gather or apply color to glass is by rolling into crushed up glass. Now this is that bar just crushed up to smaller little pebbles. And this is what we're rolling to pick up that color. So as we continue, real quickly, make some noise if you're a sixth grader. Make some noise, come on. No noise? All right, so I guess we don't have any sixth graders. Do we have any seventh graders here in the house? All right. Do we have any eighth graders here in the house? I know I'm gonna hear this place just rocking. All right, good enough, guys. Well, I hope everyone's having a wonderful day here. It's Thursday, right? So we're almost towards Friday. Is everybody ready for this weekend we're gonna have? You guys don't have school tomorrow? So today's your Friday? What? That is amazing. And the last day of the semester, well, you guys are definitely treating yourself. That's what life's all about, is about treating yourselves. And it looks like you guys are doing last day of the semester right on. Well, I hope everyone did good in their classes this time around. All right, so we are now going to be adding the small little rap that goes. This is a good time to hit record, by the way. Check this crew out. Look what they do down here. Look at that hot molten mass that we're adding on that very top layer. And again, we have a professional crew down here, so you don't want to try any of this at home. You may or may not burn yourself. I don't know how talented you are. Some people are natural. Some people really need a lot of work. Do we go to school for a glass blowing? There's a couple different ways you can become a glass maker. Doesn't this seem like an awesome job, though, right? You get to work with hot, molten glass. I mean, and you get to play with fire. And I know everyone loves to play with fire. We get to play with that stuff all the time. There's a couple different ways. You can go to your local factory and learn how to blow glass that way. That's the best way you're going to develop the hand skills necessary. But you can also go to college. There's about 50 or so colleges in the United States that teach glass making. Doesn't mean you'll be a professional, though. That just means you'll be trained to work with the glass as a medium. So there's a couple different routes you can take. Everyone down here has taken a different route to get where they're at now. So the camera lens just sometimes can't see the actual color of the glass. It doesn't matter what color we work with. It will always look red and orange when it's hot. It can be purple. It can be green, blue. It always looks red and orange. And that's just the heat distorting the color. Small little glass figurines. As we continue to work down here, Ben's actually going to let that cool down and then enter the furnace for another layer. By doing that, we can gather more glass, but we also retain more control. But on our top screen now, we're going to play a little video on how we make these small little ponies. So on our top screen now, let's find out how these small little figurines are made. Now, these are sitting right on top of our, I like to call our horse stable. It's actually just a garage where we can keep glass nice and warm. So on our top screen now, we can focus to see how they are made. That is one of our glass makers making one of those ponies. Now, he made that look really easy, right? You feel like you can come down here and make one of those really easy, right? Well, I've tried. I've been doing this for almost 9 years. My ponies are still looking like warthogs. I don't know what it is. Maybe I just can't get them right, but they do take a lot of practice and skill. If you're hoping to get your hands on one of them, we don't sell them. It is bad luck, that bad juju, and none of us like that. We're all superstitious, so we don't sell them. The best way to get your hands on some of those is to buy the team some cookies or some snacks. Give them something. That's the best way, or some chocolate. That's the best way you can get your hands on one of those ponies. I know the team likes chocolate too, by the way. Coffee too, guys. So just like last time I had mentioned a little bit, if we gather while that core is hot, it can become difficult to gather. And so we're just working smarter by letting that core cool down. We can A, gather more glass, but B, we can also maintain more control of it. So the rag that you see there is the Wall Street Journal, folded up, drenched in water. And that is our shaping tool we use here. The closest we can get to touching the glass without burning ourselves. So that is that wet padded newspaper. That is the Wall Street Journal right there. That paper, depending on what we make, can sometimes just last one day. Totally okay, we throw that away and we make a new pair. You're always more than welcome to bring your old Wall Street Journal here to the museum because we'll make good use of it. Oh yeah, we have stacks. And we burn through stacks too. It's all personal preference though. Some glass makers prefer a little bit of sheets like 8 or 9, and some prefer all the way up to 25. It is all your personal preference. There is no rules. You have a question? That is a great question. How do we get bubbles in the glass? A bunch of little small pattern bubbles. I'm going to bring over the mold that we use to create all those small little bubbles. We call this a pineapple mold, but in the olden days, the glass makers would call this the bubbler. It's called the bubbler because it creates a bunch of bubbles in the glass. And I'm going to bring it right over to you guys so you guys can actually touch it and see what's going on the inside of this mold that we have. And there we can see how the bubbles are created by making all the small little bubbles and molds. So we can actually feel inside of it now. This is brass glass, and this is how all the little bubbles are created with this little bubbler effect. Now, the glass has a weird viscosity, which doesn't allow it to flow into all the small little crevices. So if we poke a hole in the glass and we gather, a bubble is created because the glass can't flow into those small little spots and openings. So on our top screen, let's get that image back up once again. So we can see that bubble effect with the glass that we have there. And that is how we pretty much create a polka dotted effect in the glass. Look at all this teamwork that's going on, by the way. Right now we are creating a constriction, which will be the break-off point. If you're wondering how will this piece be broken free from the rod, well, it's that little crevice that we've created that will allow it to break off. Right now. Oh, what's it gonna be? It's gonna be a vessel, and it is gonna be a bowl down here. Notice that on this end we have Gabe, who's blowing through the blowpipe, and this is how we make a piece bigger, by blowing air. If you're wondering how much air goes through that blowpipe, it varies, but we typically blow about the same air pressure you use to blow out a candle. So that's how much air we're blowing through that pipe. Has anyone ever passed out from being lightheaded? Yes. I actually have a friend who had heat stroke and it actually fell forward to one of the furnaces, one of the glory holes. Really dangerous time. But yeah, you want to make sure you're fully hydrated down here when you're working here. During the summer, it gets quite bad. You always want to make sure you're hydrated, especially. But right now, it's the best time of glass blowing, like I said. It's the winter. It's all nasty and icky outside, but we're nice and cool down here. Has anyone ever caught on fire? I'm sure someone in the history of glass has. We have a fire blanket and we have some fire extinguishers here at this museum. Coming in? Oh, we do have fire extinguishers. They're located right up where the exit sign's located, and down here where the exit sign is also located. I'm going to be adding the punty, and the punty is the transfer rod. So we're going to switch the orientation of this piece right now. We're going to begin to work on the opposite end of the rod right here by adding this new rod, the punty. Now, when we're adding this rod, it's very important that it goes on at the proper temperature, not too hot, not too cold. Too cold and it doesn't fuse properly, the piece will fall and break off. Too hot and it's nearly impossible for the piece to break off and it won't break cleanly. No, it's you. You have a question. What determines too hot and too cold? Well, our professional team does. This gentleman down here who brought over the punny has been working with glass for over 20 years, longer than I've been alive. So he knows the proper temperature that's needed. Oh, yeah, you want to give him a round of applause? That's that perfect punty down there. You're going to be, so first of all, I want to say happy birthday, even though it's a couple days out. Happy birthday, though, all right? So if you're 12 and under, we have a program here called Kids Design Glass. If you draw it, we make it. So this is a drawing that we had for for December, and we made this completely out of glass. Here in a little bit, we're actually going to get an image. We're going to record the very back of it, and we can see what the piece actually looks like. But kind of keep that in mind if you're 12 and under. You can be part of this program. Your imagination is the limit because we can draw whatever you want. You're 11? You're lying. You're lying. Okay, I'm 11 in heart too, all right? In spirit I am. You have a question? Why don't we have a program that's 13 and up? Well, I do want to let you know that here in Tacoma, we do have such a program called the Hilltop Artist. If you're 12 and over, you can actually blow glass in their studio. It is completely free, and we can work with your schedule. So always talk to the representatives of the Hilltop Artists And that's one way you can learn to blow glass. We offer daytime classes, after school classes, and summertime classes. So we work with your schedule. So definitely, if you're really interested in learning how to blow glass at your young age, definitely look into that program. And of course, that program is completely free. So the very tip of the glass is extremely thick. So we thin that out. And look at that little trim. That is how we get rid of excess glass. Little trim of the last piece, but we can see the color a little bit. And we can see that this is thick glass that we cut off the end of the glass. And again, this is sort of the color. I feel like the color is going to be a little denser on the actual piece itself because this is just the very tip. So this is extremely sharp, so it's the reason why I can't give it away, but if I weren't, it's sharp. It's really sharp, actually. The very edges tend to be very, very sharp. So that is what we're getting rid of, and that is that thick glass that we see on the very end. You guys want to see something amazing right now? Check this move out that we're going to be performing right here. We're going to bring over a little bit of clear glass added to that very lip. And look at that. So that colored glass will actually be thrown away. Due to a couple different reasons, if we try to remelt it, it will contaminate our furnace. It will contaminate our furnace. Our furnace only holds clear glass. And one of the worst things you could do in a hot shop is contaminate the clear furnace. Yes. Oh, yes. So if we want to add color, it's always added separately through either a bar or broken up shard form. So yes, if the piece hits the door, falls on the ground, you learn at a glassmaker, so what? It happens. Start all over. And that's something that you have to learn as a glass blower is you never get attached to a piece till it's sold. Not till it's off, already cooled down, till it's sold. You never are satisfied with the piece because you just don't know what will happen. If it hits a door, we can sometimes salvage it, but most of the times there is going to be a good mark left on the glass. Sweet. Well, we are adding the finishing touches to that very lip area. Notice our very talented crew. They're all working together. It's all about teamwork. It really makes the dream work here at the Museum of Glass. You have a couple questions? So that little blower, it's called a puffer, or a soffietto in this case. It's a way that we can inflate the piece even after the transfer. Want to make it a little larger? We don't have a blowpipe, but we do have that little puffer. Is it hard? So when you're first learning to blow glass, blowing a bubble is extremely difficult. I still remember when I was learning how to blow glass, blowing that bubble is difficult, but you learn how it eventually, at this stage, it's really easy, but at first it is hard. And it's just about learning from your experience. Why is she? So Sarah down here, all right. So the next step we will take is to set this piece into an annealer. Does anybody want to guess what happens if we leave the glass out here? Any takers, any guesses? What happens if we leave the glass out here? Fantastic job, yeah, it cracks. The glass will actually break, crack, and explode. If we want to keep a piece from breaking, it slowly has to be brought back down to room temperature, which is the annealing process. The annealer we will use today is the green, or the black one with the green number 1. It is currently sitting at 920 degrees Fahrenheit, and it will be the home of the vessel for the next 24 hours. So Sarah down here has suited up in a heat protective layer. She has some Kevlar gloves. We're gonna break the piece free from that rod, and on its way, it will go to the oven. Give our team a round of applause. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us now. We will be taking our lunch break, which typically takes around 1 hour. I welcome everyone to come back to the Museum of Glass. Remember that your pass is good for the entirety of the day. You can grab a lunch of your own, a coffee. We have a wonderful bistro just outside of here. So enjoy. Now, before we head off, we're going to play a video on the top screen called Kids Design Glass as we prepare to take our break. But before we do that, we have any questions from the audience? Any last questions before we break off? I know you have a bunch of questions right now. This is that time. If not, the piece that we drew. Oh, man, let's see if we can get Vivi out here real quickly. Well, actually, we'll do you even better. We're going to play that video on our top screen that shows some of the drawings we've made, actually.
Monster. Pip is a baby monster that loves to smile and laugh. Even though he's little and cute, he gives a big cry. Also, Pip loves food, especially bananas. He will eat any speck of food in sight.
And especially if the pieces of art go traveling around, other kids will see, oh my gosh, I could do that too. You know, it's not just somebody else that, you know, they did it, you know, I couldn't do that. Absolutely not. Anyone can do this. And I think that's what it shows the kids.
Maybe not everybody can win.
But, and
I think it's gonna stand up there with one of the coolest things that a museum has ever done.
what is it, a cucumber all dressed up for a night on the town. That's pretty ridiculously funny.
The funnest part about this project is how fresh the ideas are coming from the kids who they have no idea of glass blowing techniques. They don't care.
Nobody saw this coming. We'd make one piece and it was given to the family. And then we realized, well, wait a second, there's something more here. We started to get more drawings, more interesting drawings, and it really kind of snowballed a little bit.
Bacon Boy was special. The hat almost looks like a frying pan.
Maybe he's wearing a frying pan.
Bacon, baby.
It's fine.
Oh, I see.
How's that for his arm? Fingers?
Yeah, yeah.
I think it really brings it home and really shows that, you know, there's an artist in all of us, I think. So, and it's human nature to be creative. So I think we lose that as we get older sometimes, and it's cool to see this pure creative nature that children possess. So I think it's cool to share that with the rest of the world, hopefully. So.
Thank you for supporting Kids Design Glass.